Welcome to the Attorney Talk podcast, sponsored by Szaferman Lakind with your host, Sam Gaylord, disability litigator in the state of New Jersey. In each episode of the Attorney Talk podcast, Sam has casual conversations about the law with varied professionals throughout the legal industry. You can find this show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our website, Szaferman.com. Now here's the host of Attorney Talk, Sam Gaylord.
Well, thank you, and welcome to Attorney Talk, casual conversations about the law. I'm your host, Sam Gaylord, partner at Szaferman Lakind, and today I am thrilled to have with me my partner and friend, Tom Manzo. Tom, welcome to the show.
Sam, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
That's great, and I appreciate you taking the time with us today. So one of the things I like to do before we sort of dive in is to ask the question of having you tell everyone something about yourself that many people might not know.
You know, that's a tough one, Sam. I mean, there's a lot of things, we I guess we all keep private as human beings. I was thinking of one this morning that is completely ridiculous, but it's an obsession I have with the kitchen before I come to work. If my wife leaves very early, even earlier before I have to. But when I go to leave, I can't have a single thing, hanging around in that kitchen, Sam. Everything has to be cleaned out. It is completely unacceptable, no matter what I have going on that day, to leave the house unless that is all straightened out. So that's something that most people don't know. A little embarrassing to tell it, but it's true.
That's fantastic. I thought you were going to go with that. I've known Tom a long time. Tom is a marathon runner, a wine a guru, and I thought you were going to go with something fun like that. But I love the OCD nature of having to have it all clean before you. That's fantastic. Man after my own heart. So listen, I want to jump in. People obviously don't know you, and so I think what we want to try and do is introduce you a bit, talk a little bit about your lawyer journey. How long have you been an attorney?
Gosh, it's been about 16 years now that I've been out of law school and practicing.
Terrific. And what kind of law do you specialize in?
Pretty much, I would say 100% personal injury law. It's not just the auto cases, the slip and fall cases, and those can be very serious. We do handle those along with product liability cases as well. But we also specialize in and have come to take on quite a few cases for victims of crime. And in the most instances, that involves a victim of something like sexual violence or sexual assault. So that's something over the last decade or more that we have really gotten into, and find it to be very rewarding, in fact.
I could certainly imagine. And we'll dive a little bit more into the specifics of that. But how long have you been with Szaferman?
After clerking for a year, I was fortunate to clerk for a judge in the appellate division, Judge Clarkson Fisher. Phenomenal judge and human being. And after that, I interviewed here, and I started here, and I continue to be here.
That's fantastic. So in going back in history, what prompts Tom Manzo to say, "Hey, I want to be a lawyer"?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I was not one of those people who had that initial thought as a child. Hey, this is what I'm going to do. I know where I want to be. I know where I want to wind up. No idea. Many interests in many things, but I found myself to be quite lucky in that I had some people in my life who, when I was finishing up college, were great influences on me, and said, look, take this next chapter. You'll find a way to do the things that you love to do, in this arena of the law. And they were absolutely right. And that's ultimately how I decided to take the plunge and go to law school.
Terrific. Where'd you go?
Local, Seton Hall.
Oh, terrific. Were you in the new building?
Yeah, down in the Ironbound. Yeah, I guess they called it the new building. Yeah.
Yeah, my first year at Seton Hall, we were still in the old we called it the McDonald's building, and they hadn't finished the construction on the new building. So that's outstanding. So we're alumni. I didn't realize that. That's
We
great.
are brothers in many
Uh,
ways.
that's right. That's right. So, and you talked a little bit about that, you're doing personal injury, but that you have sort of this niche, this focus of yours. Tell everybody why or what's the most enjoyment that you get from doing what it is that you do?
Sure. It's and enjoyment is the right word. It's just sometimes it comes in the context of situations for people that God enjoyment couldn't be farther from what they're experiencing, what they're going through. But it's having that ability to have a hands-on approach in someone's life who's going through some extremely difficult things. And really helping them through a number of decisions to try to lead them down a path or get them onto a path a lot of times that's going to bring healing, progress, sometimes treatment, compensation for losses. That's the best part about what we do, and it involves people. My clients are human beings. There's many different organizations, entities that need representation too, and that's great. But for me, I love the fact that I represent people.
Terrific. And in doing that, and again, only having represented, we'll say the injured, sense of accomplishment at the end of the day, a sense of achievement. How does that sort of incorporate into your day to day operation?
That's the only measure of our success is have we helped people. That's how we come to define a success. Have we been able to instrumentally enter into this person's life, give them advice, counsel, guidance, and help them along to put them in a better position than when we first met them. That is our only way that we look at what we've done. And when we put our heads on the pillow at night, that's the operative question for success on the day.
Gotcha. Is there anything in particular about what you do that sort of you would sort of if I could wish tomorrow that it was slightly different to make it better, what might something like that be?
There are constantly battles going on out there, and many people aren't aware of them. Legislatively, where laws could be much more favorable to people who have been through some horrific things in their lives, and those laws, and we're involved. I say we. Many of the attorneys in our firm and a lot of the attorneys with whom we regularly work, we're involved in organizations trying to move, the laws towards a better place for people. Because the reality is when these horrible things, happen, um, you know, people often are left, lost, and the remedies can be very difficult to access. So, if I had that magic wand, there are some things like that I'd love to change. We have made progress in that regard, and with some laws and some legislation, but that movement is so important, and that's what I wish I could have a greater effect on.
One of the greatest things about, I think, being at Schaeferman, and I know Tom is heavily involved, is that the interaction, not just with the lawyers and legislators in the county, but statewide. Now, Tom is very involved in the what's NJAJ or what's determined used to be ATLA, the trial lawyers, things of that nature. Correct?
Yeah, I have been an NJAJ member for quite some time, and also am heavily involved in the New Jersey State Bar Association. And I actually presently am chair of the legislative committee, so we do review, a copious amount of legislation that comes through to see if our mission at the bar matches up, and we're able to take a position or try to help move things in the right direction. So it's something that I do on a weekly basis with my colleagues and friends.
And as part of your practice, and now we are almost 5 years removed from, the shutdown of the world, have you noticed that with time passing, COVID sort of in our not so much rear view mirror, but sort of that going back to what I'll call normal has started to happen?
Look, we've made a lot of progress. There's still a big backlog. I was one of the attorneys, and I think I was fortunate to have the opportunity to do it. To try a complete virtual case where everyone was virtual, the jurors were virtual. So I experienced that with one of my clients who had been sitting waiting for justice for a long time. So that process, while we were thankful to have that, certainly had many faults. So we are so lucky that we're no longer in a position where we have to utilize a process like that. We're back live for jury trials. We get to see the individuals who are going to make the decisions that are going to affect our clients' lives. They're right in front of us now again. So thank goodness we have made that progress. With that said, there are some virtual aspects that are around to stay. But the most important ones we're back live for. And we just hope that, and the courts and the judges we have been working so hard to try to move the cases along to deal with the backlog that was created. And, it's something that we also talk to our clients about quite a bit because it can be frustrating because the process does take some time. But I assure them, we're very involved and know, the judges that we appear before regularly, they're working very hard to try to let people have their moment in court.
Yeah. And if anybody can't just sort of hear or see the way in which Tom is answering these questions, and again, sort of my own bias because I've known Tom a long time, just the enthusiasm he brings to what he does and the enjoyment that he gets from, being able to represent those people. You could just sort of hear it exuding as you're answering these questions. It's very, very exciting to be on this end of the conversation. Let's put it that way, pal.
It's mutual.
So
And
that's all the
go ahead,
yeah,
Sam.
that's it. And that's all the good stuff, but every day we face the things that aren't so good or the things that we wish were a little bit different. So what in your opinion would you, if you could tomorrow, I'm king for the day, what would be different in terms of your mechanics of how you practice every day? If there's anything.
Yeah, I've got to tell you that a couple years ago in COVID, I would have a much different answer. I mean, I would have a number of things that or complaints I may have because of how difficult it was for everybody, for people practicing law, for staff, for clients. It was really tough. We've come out of that, and you know, you know, look at you, Sam. We're on this together. You're one of my partners now. We're partners together in this firm. I mean, at Szaferman Lakind, we've had some really great things happen. We've got some attorneys, like you, don't want to make you blush, but it's true, who we're so happy to now be with. In our PI department as well, Alex Jacinto and Mariam Zain, two associates who are working with us, phenomenal attorneys, phenomenal people. You just get excited when you talk to them and you listen to them. We're in a place right now where it doesn't mean we're not fighting battles every day, because gosh, we are. And that's what this business and this career, this choice that we make every day is all about. But we're in a good place, and I'm very thankful to have the team that we have and to be at the firm where I am.
Yeah, and funny because one of the questions that I was going to ask you in a little bit was, what do you enjoy so much about being at Szaferman? Having joined, this is now my fourth year at Szaferman, I would say that one of the things, at least that I've enjoyed so much about being part of this organization, is that the just sort of camaraderie about it, and the fact that the lawyers are, excellent attorneys, and everyone, you could just sort of tell that everyone really, really cares about what it is they're doing, their own reputation, the reputation of the firm. And it's just a nice place where that there are other people who, no matter what's going on, they have your back. You've got people to back you up, and it's just an absolute pleasure to be sort of associated with that type of organization.
Yeah, it's mutual. Agreed.
So yeah, so okay, so now we've gone through sort of all the legal stuff, and I've known Tom, and so Tom was talking about his wife and leaving the house, but I also know that Tom is a dad and heavily involved in all of the things. One of the things I like to do is sort of, as part of this, is to sort of express the fact that we're all people. Yes, we're lawyers, but we're people. The pants go on one leg at a time, just like everyone else. So just for the audience and for our interview, Tom, you want to talk a little bit, brag a little bit about your kids?
Yeah, I guess I will just for a second. I mean, I couldn't be more fortunate. I'm like on a daily basis, I'm completely humbled to the core when I look at my kids and my family, because it's I'm just so fortunate. That they're bright, they're interesting, they're fun. They're growing up, and I think they're to become good people. They're learning, and it's such a privilege to have them and have that opportunity. And Sam, and I will go back to work just for a second in that regard, though, because you can't help but feel that way. And I know you do a lot of work on behalf of individuals who've been through a lot too. We see what people go through. We try to help them through that, and it really puts us in a position where when we do go home at night, and you see your family and you see your kids, you can't help but be so thankful and so humbled, to be around them and have the opportunities that we do. So I'm super, thrilled to be a dad, to be a husband. My wife is a saint. You can only imagine what the hours are like, and how she, tries consistently. And we both try to dovetail with one another to make things
Right.
work best for everybody. Yeah.
And you have four, as I recall.
Yeah, ages. God, it's basically 8 to 18, so it's a good
Right.
range.
So complete zone defense, you and your wife, it's 2-on-2, right? You go here, you go there, and all of that, right?
No doubt about it. And there's always holes in the defense.
Always.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. That's great. So and tell us about, like, so work-life balance. Is there such a thing for you in your world, and how does that look for Tom Manzo?
Yeah, it's so important. Sam. It's for me, it's making sure that I get some fitness in. It's a big deal. Running is important. My 11-year-old is a phenomenal swimmer, and she asked me to start swimming. So, about 6 months ago, I started doing that. I have people that are twice my age that are lapping me in the pool, but I still do it twice a week because I want to be able to do that with her. So, finding time for fitness is important. It usually means reducing sleep hours slightly, but it's a good compromise. Family time is of course essential, and keeping up with interests. I have a little obsession with things French. So I am always reading, watching, French movies and French TV and stuff like that. So there's always time, Sam. You can always dilate time and find a way to do a little bit of something that kind of keeps you ticking.
And so also a little French wine every now and again doesn't go missed. Let's put it that way.
I'm not one to say no to that occasion, Sam.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, listen, Tom, I sucked up enough of your time. I appreciate your joining us today. But before I let you go, I just want to give you an opportunity to sort of tell our audience, you know, any final words, any like words of wisdom, words of joy. What's sort of on your mind today?
Yeah, that's great, Sam. Thank you, and again, thanks for the opportunity to be on here with you. It's really a pleasure to do something like this. And I guess where I close would be to thank the people who have spent some time to meet me on this show with you, to listen. I hope we've given a little insight about the stuff that we do on a day-to-day basis. We've also shown that we are human beings. I think we have achieved that as well, which is great. But I would also say to people, just remember something. You can have an effect and control on your life. You can use the law to do so. These are things that that are out there for you. They're not always brought on a plate to you, but we are out here for you. If you have questions, you have concerns, or you just don't know what to do. My goodness, yes, Sam is one to always get on the phone. I'm one to get on the phone. We're happy to answer your questions and try to help you. That's what we are here for, is to try to do that. It's so important that you know that, and that you don't pass up on an opportunity to ask those questions and to let us try to help you, because that's what we're here to do, and that's what we find pleasure in doing. So thank you for joining us, and I hope to hear from some of you should you have any needs whatsoever.
Well, I appreciate that, Tom, and it's a great segue, because my next question is, if people have additional questions about what you do or want to talk to you about a particular fact scenario, what's the best way that somebody can get hold of you?
Sure. I mean, you can always call the office, 609-275-0400. You can ask for me. You can also email me. Sometimes, and I get it, sometimes people don't want to necessarily, talk right in the beginning, especially if it's a sensitive issue. They would rather send a note in writing. You can email me as well. It's tmanzo, TMANZO, @Szaferman.com. That's S as in Sam, Z as in zebra, A, F as in Frank, ERMAN.com.
Terrific. Well, listen, I want to say thank you. I appreciate your joining me here today, Tom. It's been great. I know that our audience has certainly gotten a lot from it, and I know that I have as well. And I want to thank everybody for joining us on Attorney Talk, casual conversations about the law. I look forward to seeing everyone on our next episode. Till then, take care. Bye now.
You've been tuning into the Attorney Talk podcast, sponsored by Szaferman Lakind, with your host, Sam Gaylord, disability litigator in the state of New Jersey. You can find this show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our website, Szaferman.com. Thank you for your positive reviews, comments, questions, and for sharing this show with others.